Whence did the wondrous mystic art arise, of painting speech and speaking to the eyes, that we by tracing magic lines are taught how to embody and to color thought?
And this, he says, comes from using two actions, one against the other. I was very lucky to grow up in a society where there were no classes of any sort.
The whole damn Western world is finished.
This Mrs. Equitone is really a very useful bit because the whole British upper class mimic, with voice, they mimic the world of printing. This puts the lower classes way down because they still retain many of the characteristics of pre-print in their voices. So the class structure in England is quite simply simulating print with the voice. Tell dear Mrs. Equitone I bring the horoscope myself. Boy, does that fix people. It really, puts the clamps on it. It's comical, of course.
Everything that happened 2,500 years ago with the discovery of writing, at least phonetic writing, every pattern that developed from that world of the visual orientation of man, all the laws, all the philosophy, all the individuality, all the civilization, literally civilization, the idea of the citizen that grew out of that world.
The Chinese ideogram is a wonderful instrument of unified sensations. It is so richly unified that most people in our 20th century have begun to study it very carefully as a corrective to our highly specialized alphabet.
And this is one of the strange results of electronic circuitry in which you have everything going on at once, including no division between actors.
Though he was considered a prophet of technology and modern communications and so on, he was a scholar. He was a Catholic and he was a medieval scholar, and his understanding of things was very much conditioned by his awareness of history and past cultures. Something about McLuhan, I think, that was misunderstood by a lot of people who thought he just was thinking only forward and not backward as well, but he was really a great medievalist and historian.
Between actors, audience, and authors and readers.
Literally civilization, the idea of the citizen that grew out of that world, finished right now. It isn't going, it has gone. We just have a little aftershine left right now. It's gone. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm reporting something that happened some time ago. It's just we're just involved in a mopping up operation.
It's just a push
operation. But the disappearance of the private person, the private family, you can see, with the disappearance of the private person, everybody suddenly feels that private ethics are meaningless. And we call it permissiveness. And we don't feel we have the right to punish anybody anymore. Because society is really to blame. How can we punish anybody if we don't believe that anybody's responsible for anything?
Orion of the Orgius, Mirshal McMuhan, Yipsdaden, product of the extremes given quotidians to our means.
Mirshal McMuhan, Yipsdaden, product of the extremes given quotidians to our means.
The Newfoundlander said,
recognized around the world,
I'm a rancher,
but not at home.
I have 40 acres in Newfoundland and I grow a great variety of things there. And he said then in turn, what do you do? About happiness or about the childhood and so on.
Follow the crumble.
When I was a kid.
But it is a strange experience. And something which I think mankind has taken for granted all through the centuries is that for North Americans is rare. They're so damn mobile, get around too much.
What did your father do after the war?
After the war, he went into the insurance business, eventually, but I don't know what he did initially. I think he was in real estate. He was in Edmonton, he'd been in real estate.
He'd been?
Real estate.
Right.
So the possibilities, therefore, of controlling our technologies are considerable if we choose to study them. You live typically under conditions of information overload.
Any of you folks that would enjoy learning about the poetry of physics may do so tomorrow.
Miming the telephone, long before the telephone was on the way to school, I could stop off and invented row my boat.
Tomorrow at 2.
At IBM, this is called pattern recognition.
Told them about acoustic.
No, that's what I was interested in. I mean, how many thoughts can you cram in your head?
It isn't a question of how many thoughts. It's the fact is that when you confront the page at that speed, you apprehend it as a gestalt.
Now, that I can understand.
And that is a kind of figure ground, and that is depth. And it is a sort of iconology. It is a kind of sculptural approach to the page.
But
the page ceases to be lineal at speed, by the way.
No, I can see that.
Yes, it ceases to be lineal, and you begin to take it as a.
No, I can see that.
Yes, it ceases to be lineal, and you begin to take it as a.
Right there about your style. And your famous quote about, to your friends about most things you can read the first paragraph and you can fill in the rest yourself. Therefore, in your writing, that's not true, because each line is better and that's the reason.
Each line is a new discovery, yes.
And that's why people can't take that much into the book. I mean, if you wrote one page and published it, it would be a book.
It's one book, but one book per page.
And
any book I know of can be put on one page.
So now, let me just ask you this.
I mean, any classic.
I
Descartes can be put on one page. So can Plato. And Aristotle. Everything they ever had to say can be put on one page.
Wait, let me just ask you this then. Then you must have anticipated the reaction of an audience to the style of your book because you realized that they were used to reading.
I expect them to be enraged, yes. We don't understand information movement and image making as warfare at all. We call this advertising. Actually, Madison Avenue is a major military operation, huge military operation. If we had the slightest consciousness, we would teach our children in our schools how to protect themselves against media fallout and advertising fallout.
You went to Cambridge University, right?
Among others.
That means you completed school, right?
I completed several schools.
Oh.
I did 2 BAs and 2 MAs and 1 PhD.